Hello all, I am Nikhil Sir, the Insights PSIR faculty. So I think most of you are done with your general studies paper. I hope all of you have performed well. And now this coming 4 to 5 days, which is crucial for your optional preparation. Now let us look into what one can do. So the starting of the video, I largely speak about what can you do in 4 to 5 days. So there will be a lot of doubts within the students' mindset that shall we go for writing a few more tests in the last lap. So I would recommend instead of writing any tests in that regard and trying to unnecessarily panic in the last moment, go for revision. Okay, try to revise the important your notes what you have done, or try to go through the previous question papers what you have written in that regard, just to keep an eye on where things have gone wrong or where you have to be more conscious while writing in that regard, and try to brush up certain quotes or facts in that regard. This is one thing you can do for the last 4 to 5 days. Or if you want, brainstorm the last 3 years question paper to just get into the the mindset of the UPSC pattern of questions in that regard. That is one thing you can do. And the other thing what you can do is that you can work on few IR topics. So as we see that in exam, largely IR topics will be asked on the contemporary relevance. So try to look into few areas where the question can come and try to brainstorm certain points for it. That is all you need to do in the coming 4 to 5 days. Don't try to worry too much about your GS performance. Even if you have not performed well in GS, there are ample number of cases where people have done exceptionally well in their optional subject. For example, I had one of my friend who's currently in Indian Revenue Service. His GS performance was, moderate on the average when the scores came out, I'm saying. But he performed exceptionally well in PSR paper 2. He had scored 168. It was one of the highest score that year. And he got into the list with a very good interview score. So don't think that the game has ended because you have not done well in any of the GS subjects, etc. The match is not over till the final ball is bowled. So the match is not still over till your final answer what you have written with respect to the answer script. Okay, so this is what you need to keep in your mind. Now I'll give you certain common guidelines for the optional subject, what you can do. I'm not going into details of it, I'm just going to give broad guidelines. So first broad guidelines is regarding the part A. So in part A of paper 1, so what will be the certain doubts for students is that, sir, can we write too much scholar's name? Should we write, lot of theories in that part? So here you keep it simple. The most important part is always to look at what is the demand of the question, and always try to link certain concepts what you know for the question at large. So for example, let us take, there is an idea of equality. Okay, now always try to understand or try to look at the idea of equality through the lens of different ideologies. So you have liberal perspective, you have socialist perspective, you have a feminist perspective, you have a communitarian perspective, right? Then you have a postmodernist perspective. So whenever you analyze any idea, try to look at through different lenses, through different perspectives. And here you can go into specific scholars, like if you are speaking about liberalism in that regard, again that can be broadly divided into classical liberalism, positive liberalism, and neoliberalism. And whenever you write a viewpoint, you also try to explain at least a bit about what is the opinion of that particular scholar. Don't just try to say that this scholar is saying this, that scholar is saying that, and that alone won't make up an answer to it. That is one thing you have to keep conscious of writing part A questions. And try to write part A questions in a paragraph format. Try to use certain anecdotes in your answer. Okay, try to use certain keywords, key terms. So for example, you are writing out post behavioralism, you can use the keyword credo of relevance. or if you are speaking about largely, let us take something about gender related issues or feminist point of view, use certain keywords such as there's a difference between sex and gender. And let us take, when you want to define what is systems approach, say David Easton says that it is the authoritative allocation of values in that regard. So try to keep your language bit formal, use a lot of keywords, and more importantly focus on the structure of your answer. So do brainstorming now when you sit, but what you can write as a conclusion in these kind of questions. For let us take for an example, there is any question on like comparison between Hobbes and Locke in that regard. In your conclusion, you can write, as Lasky says, that every political thinker is a child of their times. So was Hobbes and Locke. Hobbes was influenced by the Puritan Revolution. Locke was influenced by the Glorious Revolution. You get in mind? So whatever content you have, try to revise that itself. Try to do brainstorming. Try to say where you can link which concept. That will help you to a larger extent. So that's what I would say. Keep part A simple. Look at what is the demand of the question. Try to link the concepts what you have read to the demand of the question. Have a good presentation in that regard. And as I told, these keywords, anecdotes, key terms, let it be a formal language, and focus on the structure of your answer. And what you can do for part B in that regard, because as we see in part B, there are certain areas which are dynamic in that regard. Largely the second half, where you can say caste, religion, ethnicity, and political, economic growth and development, and the model of development. So these parts we call them as political economy and political sociology parts. So you can write whatever you have read for GS2 also, but how to make your answer bit political science oriented. What you can do is that, let us think when you are analyzing something about caste in that regard, one thing you will be able to link to certain scholars. Okay. But when you write about scholars, don't just write, when they say what is the role of caste in politics. You can bring a Rajni Kothari to argue that how caste has played in political mobilization in that regard. But back it up by examples. Give recent examples in that regard. For example, you can see the idea of Mahagadbandhan in Bihar in that regard. Or when you have a person such as Christopher Jefferlot, who says that caste is the mosaic of Indian politics, don't just write the viewpoint, try to give an example to it. You can say in recent Karnataka elections, the 40% of the tickets across party lines were given to Lingayats, which shows that caste does play a key role in ticket distribution. You get a point? So friends, what you do is that when you write viewpoints, also bring practical examples, okay? And don't be worried about can I use names of political parties or not. You have to be conscious of the fact that how to use them, okay? Don't be biased towards any party or in that way. Try to bring more of concrete examples which nobody can deny. So I would suggest, one, you can use scholars, but as I told, you have to back it up by examples, etc. Second thing, when you write these kind of questions, try to also use certain concepts in your part A, such as you can write about prismatic societies, again when you are handling caste questions, or to the same caste question, you can also link the idea of pressure groups in your part A. So you can write about Charles Lindblom's deformed polyarchy. So basically you're trying to say that in India, you can say all caste groups do not have equal say. The dominant caste have more say in that regard. So try to remember the important keywords or the important concepts what you have read in part A of your syllabus, okay? and try to link those concepts when you try to analyze it. Don't try to link the whole theories. It is not necessary. Don't try to forcefully add a theory which does not add any value to your question or make your answer too artificial. Okay, it should be organically what can be integrated in that regard. So you can build certain concepts. For example, you're analyzing about party system in India, okay, or the nature of political parties in India. You can apply the framework of Robert Michael's iron law of oligarchy, where you can say the parties in India are more, you can say the power lies only with the leaders of the party, not with the rank and file of the party. You're getting the point? These kind of concepts you can interlink. So you're speaking about Panchayat Raj Institution, PRI project, link Habermas when he spoke about the important aspect of deliberation, or you can link about Aristotle's civic republicanism, or you can link the idea of participatory model of democracy. You can link M.N. Roy, Gandhi, right? Their ideas you can link into PRI or Panchayat Raj institutions related questions at large. Rest you write about what generally you have read for GS2 in that regard. That can be. These are just the concepts what you can link. So that is why I am telling. Understand the concept of the question. Try to link certain concepts what you have read in part A largely. Don't try to just blindly add theories in that regard. And try to use these kind of keywords in your answer that will enrich your answer on its content. And the other aspect is that when it comes to constitution part or the fundamental rights parts, don't forget to add case laws. That is the opinion of the Supreme Court, and the reports, committees' names. So now in this week when you are going to brainstorming, try to brainstorm and try to prepare one-page short notes on these aspects which can be readily used in the exam. To give you an example, for let us take the question is on uniform civil code. So one, you write about the constitutional provisions. For example, let us take with uniform civil code, what you can do is that you can write about one constitutional provisions, that is Article 44, directive principle of state policy. You can link the idea of secularism. You can link the idea of multiculturalism. So bring the viewpoints of proponents here, bring the viewpoints of proponents here. You can bring a feminist perspective on this issue. Then you can also write about case laws. So when you think about important case laws, Shaira Bano, Sarala Mudgal. You can link the Law Commission 21st Law Commission report. Okay, so these are the brainstorming points what I mean to say when you look at these type of questions at large. That is one thing what you can do, friends. Now secondly, coming to again paper 2 part A. As I said, what you do is that take out a sheet of paper and try to list down the keywords what you can think in paper 2 part A. So keywords will be the theories, okay, realism, liberalism, Marxism, feminism, structure, postmodernism, social constructivist approach, and try to link keywords such as balance of power, collective security, collective defense, nuclear deterrence, arms race, hard power, soft power, smart power, hegemonic stability theory, and you have terrorism. These are all the keywords in your syllabus. Democracy, human rights, Cold War. Then you can also think about zero-sum game, functionalist approach. Then you have hegemony or hegemony stability theory is done. You can also link climate change. The reason why I'm saying is that when you want to analyze certain, let us take part B ka question, that is IR ka question, try to think on these lines, try to think the syllabus in part A, you will generate many points. To give you an example, let us take what has been the impact or the rise of terrorism on global politics. So when you look at certain concept, one, you can remember theories in that regard. So realism does not feel that the non-state actors or terrorist groups are nothing but proxies of the state actors, whereas liberalism feels that terrorism is a threat to the idea of human rights in that regard. But you have a social constructivist approach, says the problem lies with the language, that how do you define the terrorist. Then if you look at the impact of terrorism, you can easily react the arms race, you can react the hard power, you can easily also connect human rights, you can also connect the idea of democracy, destabilization of democracy in Afghanistan in that regard. So you can also link complex interdependence model. So the point I'm saying is that when you look at a concept in part B, try to think various concepts what you have listed out in part A, that will enable you to bring a lot of analytical frameworks. So that is what you need to do for paper 2. And as the last moment, what you can do is that for bilateral relations, prepare certain introductions and conclusions. For example, if you're answering a question on India and United States of America in that regard, you can add in your conclusion part something like that. The future of Indo-US relationship will depend upon to what extent the Americans can accommodate India's national interest in their larger geopolitical strategy. Okay, so these kind of pre-prepared conclusions and introductions which can be readily used in the exam, which will save you a lot of time while writing the answer. This is what you can do for next 4 to 5 days. And for bilateral relation, have certain facts, has certain views. Don't worry about are you not able to recall the scholar's name. It's fine. It's not about including 10 scholars' name in the answer. They won't give you marks based on how many scholars have you included in your answer. They'll give you marks based on how much conceptual clarity you have, how much concepts you're connecting while bringing your analysis of the relationship. And same thing for IR paper, make sure that the language what you use is formal, try to use a lot of keywords, try to link a lot of concepts in that regard. And for IR, you have you get a lot of examples to be included. If possible, in certain questions you can also use maps. In certain questions you can use maps. So friends, this is what I want to say, because I don't want to add too many things in the last moment. I wish all of you the very best, and political science students have to do well. You will do well, and keep these things in mind. Be calm. Don't become nervous in the last moment. Don't try to unnecessarily write too many tests to spoil your peace of mind. Just remain calm. Do a lot of brainstorming. Think a lot. The moment you think a lot, easily you will get points in the exam. I think that you would have realized by now once you have written the 4GS paper and the essay paper. And please remember, the game is not still over till you attend the last question. So now also you can change the tables if you feel you have not done well in GS. So try to focus on your optional subject, and wish you all the very best for the exams, and hope so that everybody does well. So we'll meet you again pretty shortly. All the best.